What is up, y'all? JT Resident Dog Fishing, back with you on part 2 of rebuilding a boat engine cowling. The first episode, we covered what was wrong with it and fixed all the fiberglass repairs we needed to. I'll throw a link to that video right up here. In case you missed it, you go back and check it out. Part 2, we're going to get into sanding the whole thing down, priming it, painting it, and clear coat. I know there's lots of videos out there on it. This is one from a novice. This is the first time I've gone this in depth into doing a paint job, which came out pretty well. And if I can do it, the novice person with no paint experience can do it as well. Let's get into it. So I'm down to my last little skim coat, if you will, of the glazing putty. Once that dries, we'll sand it. We'll hit this to smooth that out as much as possible, and then it should be ready for primer. That's my last sanding with 220 going over the whole thing. I'm going to rub my hand over it, make sure I don't feel any bumps. I want it to be perfectly smooth. Wipe it down with acetone. This is the last process I will use acetone on. After this, it's going to be sanding. We're going to throw a coat of primer on it. Good and soaked. These are the crucial steps prior to laying down any primer or paint, anything, is getting that surface as smooth and as clean and as prepped as possible. Taking the extra time here is what will make the project come out good overall. So that's my sand with 220, get it smooth. As you can see, the crack that we fixed earlier there. There's one more little patch down here. We took some primer off with the sanding, but I'm gonna hit it with a tack cloth and we're gonna lay down some primer. Going light coats. We'll do a couple coats of primer. So in laying this down, I don't want to stop and start spraying on my surface. Start off of it, come onto it. If you're starting and stopping on your surface, just to give you opportunities for runs. Primer's dry, so now I'm going over it with 2000 grit wet sand to smooth that primer out. Get ready for my second coat of primer. I could probably go with 1000 grit. Probably would go a little quicker, but 2000 is all I got, so that's what we're rocking with. So there's finished after wet sanding with 2000. I mean, it is buttery smooth. I can't feel anything. It almost feels like it's polished. But obviously, yeah, be careful with the edges. I burned through a couple places, but round 2 primer. Coat 2 of the primer. Got a couple little drip here, a couple little spots here and there, but that I'll be able to sand out once this dries. I may have to do a little more work on this because I can see it, so I'll fill that in and sand it, do a little more primer there. But coat 2 of the primer, done. After that last primer coat, I still see where that crack was here. Had a little depression, so I scuffed it just a little bit, filled it in with some more of the glazing putty, and we'll give this a sand and reprime it. It's a lot better. It ain't perfect. Still, I mean, I can see, I know where it's at, so I'm looking right at it, but I mean, yeah, it's gonna need that's gonna need some work. But that's the beauty of primer, is you can put it on thicker and sand it smooth. So, not worried about it. So I got a little bit of runs and drips there, but I can sand that smooth. So there's round 2 of the primer plus a little bit of a patch here, and that's looking like crap. But I also picked up some 800 and 1000 grit sandpaper, so we're going to use that. I'm going to start with 1000. I may go down to the 800, but start with 1000 to wet sand, second coat of primer before we get ready to lay down our first coat of paint. The big bulk area is done. Now I'll work on this section here. This 800 is a lot better than that 2000 I was using the last time. It really gets through it. Got a little run right here I'm going to work out first before I really go at it. Let me show you what I'm kind of working with here. I don't know how well it's going to come out, especially right up through here. You can see where I've sanded and where I haven't. It looks kind of like the beginnings of orange peel almost, and that's what I want to get out, get a smooth surface, so when that layer of paint lays down, it's just as smooth as what is underneath. But that's ready to go. I'm going to finish up the whole cowling, and I'll bring you back when it's time to throw down some color. I had to go a little deeper than I wanted to, but you can see it now, but it is perfectly smooth. There is nothing there to feel. So what we got up here? Some shit I gotta get rid of. Alright, well, I'm not done. Make sure I run my hand all over it, make sure I don't feel any rough areas need to be touched up before we start getting into some color, man. About time. I'm digging the way that is, man. What we'll do with it though, I'm going to set it out in the sun. I don't want any water, since I use water to wet sand it. I'll let the sun vaporize all that water off of it. And it's color time. All right, it's do or die time on her now. Sanded, set out in the sun and dried. Got a brand new tack cloth. We're going to wipe it down. Start laying some color. I'm excited to get to this point, but I'm nervous. So here's what we're using. Moeller's Yamaha Blue. I used it on my engine cowling when I repaired the crack up front and the crack back here, and it blended pretty well, so all speed. See how she does. So again, light coats, multiple coats. I don't want to go too heavy and get runs and drips. Here we go. First coat. Woo. Sorry for the sun, you can't really see it. But yes sir. All right, we'll let that dry. So here we go. First coat of paint laid down, dried. Has a pretty rough texture to it from the spray paint. So before I go into coat number 2, we're going to go back and wet sand it again with 2000. We'll start out with 2000. I know I did 800 on the primer coat, came out pretty good, but I'm going to do 2000 just to smooth this out before I go with my second coat of paint. We'll start with a small area on the back, see how it comes out. You can see the texture in it. Try a piece of it. Try a piece of 1000, see how that 2000 may just be a little slow. Yep, 1000 grit. Yep, that's nice and smooth. So, 1000 grit, we're gonna color sand it. Come back when it's all done. All right, just got a dull sheen to it now, but nice and smooth. So we'll set her out in the sun, make sure it's 100% dry, and then we'll lay down coat number 2. All right, so all dried out in the sun, tack cloth it, and coat number 2. Second coat's dry. Time for another round of wet sand before we start getting into clear. Again, like you see, you can hear my hand going over it. That rough surface, we just want to get knock that down. Make her smooth. So there she is. 2 coats, wet sanded. Got a little dull sheen to it, which is what I want. Ready for clear coat. And the patch is fading. I don't know if this clear coat's going to bring it out or hide it, but it's right there. We'll get it wiped down with a tack cloth and lay down some clear. There's the clear coat. This is one of the most satisfying parts to me, is when you know you're done, when you get to remove the tape. Obviously be very careful of your new paint job. There we go. Short of some decals, I think she's done. I gotta flip it. I gotta put the feet back in, or the clamps, and do up that rubber gasket. But other than that, maybe do a little light buff on it. There's still some areas that aren't 100% smooth, so I'll hit it with a light compound tomorrow once it sets and cures and is done. Damn it, that clear coat wasn't set. Fuddruckers. Damn it. Always enough on there. I can wet sand and polish that out. But damn it, I knew I was gonna do something stupid, and there it was. It took the area that I screwed up here, I knocked it down with 320, and I went over the whole area again with 800 to smooth it out. So I'll have to pick up some more paint and clear, and we'll paint this area, clear it, and hopefully we can come back and blend it all in with little 1000, 2000, and some color sanding and buffing. But always screw something up so that the clear coat harden. So here's my screw up. Still see it right there. That's the first coat of paint over it, so I think one more coat will give that a light wet sand to smooth it out once it's done. And one or two more coats and you won't even be able to see it anymore. And then we'll throw clear on it and hopefully we're done. I never knew clear coat had to sit for a while before it was hard. Unlike the paint where you could just dive right in and wet sand it an hour, 2 hours after it dries. Clear coat, that's got to sit before you touch it, before you do anything to it, for a minimum of 24 hours. Hard lesson learned. Obviously, I'm trying to fix it. There we go, final coat of paint down. Yep. We'll let that dry, give it a light 1000 sand, clear it, and not touch the damn thing again. Alright, sanded and clear coat's done. There we go. Dig it. Now this time, I'm not going to touch the frickin' thing until I know it's cured. Dumbass. Hey, lessons learned, lesson fixed. So here it is. Finally done. Done primed, done painted, and clear coat. I even fixed the boo-boo up here, which I'll get into. But for the first time ever doing something this in depth, I am ecstatic and super pleased on how it came out. Right there was where that big crack was. You know, on the other side, right down here is where the smaller crack was. So there it is, man. Phenomenal. There we go. Part 2 in the books. Priming, sanding, painting, sanding, and clear coat. I repeat, I am not a body guy, professional painter, anything of that nature. It's the first time I've ever done something on this scale. And for a rookie like me, I'm telling you, if I can pull it off, you can pull it off. Let me know what you think. If you know what you're doing with this stuff, let me know where I screwed up, where I could have done better. But part 1's down. Check that out. There's part 2. Part 3's coming up. I'm waiting on an Amazon order for some polishing pads and buffing pads because there's a little screw up in the clear coat. I don't know if you saw it or not in the videos, but we're going to get into wet sanding that, getting rid of the blemishes out of the clear coat, and polishing it, buffing it, bring it to a high shine, and the decals are coming as well. So smash that like and subscribe button so you don't miss it. Part 3 is coming your way pretty soon.